Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity. I just want to thank Representative Smith because this has been an ongoing issue since of last year when the very first corporation pulled out of participating in the Florida Tax Credit Scholarship Program on this very issue. And myself and Senator Del Russo on the other end of this body filed a bill to address the issue, and it was ignored. And the advocacy efforts led by Rep. Smith and others facilitated some really important dialogue. And I've said already how blessed I feel for those opportunities because it definitely opens up your eyes to the larger structure. It gives the opportunity to connect with stakeholders that in other circumstances you never would have spoken to them. So I'm internally grateful for that. And I'm really hopeful that no matter what happens on this amendment today, that the conversation continues because the problem will not be solved if this doesn't pass today. The problem will not be researched because we didn't pass that amendment, and there will not be a guarantee of greater transparency because we didn't pass the First Amendment. So this is the last chance to get it right in a meaningful way. And it's been a journey to get here with myself and Rep. Smith filing amendments, withdrawing amendments, running late to the floor, to having conversations with the Commissioner of Education, talking to Doug Tudhill, Step Up for Students, doing our best to really practice this work in good faith, hoping that our colleagues in the front rows would heed these concerns and consider at least one of the ideas, whether they're more substantial than others. And so I come to this point knowing how the vote will probably happen, but really hoping that folks can see why ensuring that no person is discriminated against, and that includes LGBTQ kids and their families who are of different faith backgrounds. And I want to stress that these two issues are not exclusionary. Faith-based schools were crafted because of discrimination based on religion. And I think it is important that we do our best to always prohibit discrimination based on anyone's identity. And you're talking to someone whose family identifies as Muslim American. So trust me, I understand the concerns when it comes to facing discrimination because of who your God is. There are gay Muslim kids in this state. There are gay Jewish kids in this state. There are gay Christian kids in this state. And if their parents want to choose a religious school and benefit from a public dollar, then we should make sure that that choice is available to every kid and family, no matter who their God is. And of course, this amendment also speaks to hairstyles, which we spoke about briefly, but I do want to lift back up because when we met with Doug Tudhill, we heard the stories of discrimination based on these type of racial identity factors. And that's why that's included in this language. Again, members, schools choose to participate. No one is forcing a school to benefit from the public dollar. And no school is prohibited from fundraising on their own, which private schools have done for a very long time, to pay for scholarships for their own students. But as we expand this program to more and more kids, you're going to see more families of different identities. You're going to see more kids who are gay who want to benefit. And I am concerned that if you are a gay child growing up in a different part of our state and you want to practice school choice, but every school in that perimeter has anti-LGBTQ policies, does that child have choice? I am concerned about a dynamic where a parent might not be supportive of LGBTQ identity and a child is gay, but they haven't told their parent yet. Parent is the best parent in the world except on this one issue. They just cannot fathom to understand it. They choose a school that has policies that reflect the parent's value, but not so the child's identity because the child hasn't disclosed it yet for the reasons I described. Is that kid going to be okay in that school? Is that kid going to take their life because they don't feel accepted? And I'm not dramatizing it, members. We have high suicide rates among LGBTQ teens. We have high homelessness rates among LGBTQ teens because they disclose their status to their parents and they are kicked out. We have a nonprofit in my district called Zebra Coalition that is a shelter for trans youth who are kicked out of their homes. This is not happening just in rural communities. It happens in even urban cores like Orlando. And I also love the fact that this amendment doesn't just target one type of school, because that has been a point of emphasis for my colleagues, and I honor that. This is not saying that one school is doing it better, it really unpacks the reality that every school needs to be doing better. And in particular, I think it's important to remember that at this point in our state, nothing even prohibits discrimination in public school beyond the fact that public schools have adopted rules to prohibit it. And even some of the most conservative counties have adopted those rules because they realize that for faculty and students, protections are deserved. And the last thing I'll say before I close, Madam Speaker, is this language doesn't protect educators. And we do have testimony of a teacher fired in Brevard County who was a theater teacher at one of our publicly funded voucher schools, and she was spotted at Space Coast Pride. Her name is Monica. And Monica was terminated because she went to Space Coast Pride and because her principal found out that she was gay. And this is a school that receives public money. Private institutions want to operate like that. We don't have much jurisdiction over it at this point in time, but when you're benefiting from the public dollar, I think it's really important to make sure that everyone can actually have that benefit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.